Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the One and O podcast. My name is Avery Hill.
I'm Lexi Linderman.
I'm Will Horseman.
We have one day until the battle for bowl eligibility. It'll be Penn State versus Rutgers. Obviously, both teams have 5 wins. They need that win to get over the hump, get into maybe what it could be, the Pinstripe Bowl, whatever it may be. We'll talk a little bit of that. We'll talk a little more about Penn State's bowl chances, and then we'll get into some Thanksgiving stuff. I know we missed you guys for the pre-Thanksgiving things, but we've still got you covered. Those leftovers aren't expired, which hint, we'll be discussing that as well. Again, just to start. Both teams are going for bowl eligibility. Penn State obviously had to roar back from being on a 6 game losing streak. Penn State had to really go through the gauntlet to get to this point, but now they're at the chance where you win one game and you get a bowl game. But obviously, there's a lot that goes with that. Head coaching change, players transferring, things like that. So, do you guys think that if Penn State does win this game, do they play in the bowl game? What's your take?
I think it's really hard, kind of like you said, because like Terry Smith is all like, oh yeah, like they're gonna play, they're gonna play, we're gonna play, we want to play. But it's like most of the bowls are like a month away. And like I would expect Pat Kraft to get this head coaching hire taken care of and ironed out like maybe next week. If not next week, then definitely the week after. Um, And you kind of need to. I mean, the 2026 recruiting class is getting thinner and thinner. James Franklin flipped three guys for Virginia Tech yesterday. And, or I guess not flipped because Roseby decommitted already. But regardless, like, James Franklin's at work. Like, he's already got Tech's class in the top 100. And, like, Penn State needs, like, some stability to, like, move forward. And so I think that there will be a new head coach by the time Penn State plays a bowl game 100%. And so it's just a matter of like, is Terry gonna want to coach in a bowl game? Like, I think the answer would be yes, barring he gets another job offer. But then the matter is like the players like will, maybe already decide to enter the transfer portal. And like Terry said, he doesn't really have like a policy about that yet. So maybe they stick around, even though they're entering, they stick around, play one last game. I don't know. But I think it's just a really something else for Penn State that's just like really up in the air. And I think that like I would lean to them like, yes, playing in a bowl game because I think, Penn State fans are going to travel anywhere. Like it's at least something to still kind of play for to somewhat salvage the season. But it could be a very different Penn State team than what we saw like the entirety of this year. It could be a lot of young guys, as like some veterans, decide to opt out for the draft, decide to transfer, things like that. So it's really just kind of like an unknown, but I would lean that like yes, Penn State will be playing in a bowl game. It's just a matter of like what Penn State looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I think Penn State, I think that what makes it like interesting is like if Terry Smith doesn't get the head coaching job, which as Lexi said, I would expect it to happen relatively soon after the regular season ends. Like, but it's like if it's not Terry, it's like, would he want to coach in a bowl game knowing that he won't be the head coach next year for Penn State? And I think it's kind of interesting because like in for like a team like this and with a bowl outlook that they have like Pinstripe Bowl, like the Game Above Sports Bowl, like stuff like that, it's kind of meaningless, but it's a very veteran team that's it's they're gonna have like their sights turned to the NFL draft and all that stuff. But it's kind of weird because like Terry Smith just said the other day, it's like, oh yeah, we'll play like and I anticipate like the majority of players like actually playing in the game. It's maybe one or two like opt-outs for like certain cases, but like it's just kind of I feel like the head coaching job needs to be like ironed out before like a decision is made here because it's just kind of tough to see with like so much like uncertainty here, but it's like but again, it's like Terry Smith did say it's like we'll play and like the players want to play. So I think that they would play in a bowl game if they're given an opportunity because like I mean the team like morale just seems like so high like after these past two wins. So I wouldn't be surprised if they want to just stay together as a team for at least another month. But otherwise, it's like I think the head coaching job needs to be decided.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, as I kind of look at just the different bowl games, the options right now, projections, one thing stands out to me right now. ESPN, like I'm currently looking at ESPN's bowl projections, and they both have or two ESPN reporters have Penn State playing in a Gave Up Sports Bowl, which would be either against a MAC team, obviously Mid Atlantic Conference. I don't know, MAC Conference. So it would either be against Ohio or Western Michigan according to their projections. But it's not even that. I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is the game is December 26th. I think if your players usually like those shouldn't matter. You understand you're going to miss holidays. You're going to, but as Nick Dawkins talked about, as you start to lose, you kind of lose that validity of, missing said holiday. It's like if I'm a player and I already know I'm going to enter the transfer portal, why not at least get a year, where I can be with my family, like things like that. Like I really think that could be a factor for some players going into this, especially, I mean, considering the fact that the transfer portal is going to be right around the window. Like it's a hard turnaround, a lot going on. Like I think that could really play a bigger factor than people think, especially if it becomes a game of a sports bowl. Because even like me and myself, obviously, like I might, I don't know how travel is going to work out. Like, am I going to have to miss Christmas? I'm going to have to catch a red eye and miss half of Christmas. Like, that is a, hard turnaround for you to do. So I think that can be a factor. I think if you think about Terry Smith, I think he'll coach. I think even if he doesn't get that opportunity, he has the full time. I think that if he has the chance to do it one more time, he'll want to do it. I think that Terry is a guy that wants to finish what he started. He doesn't, want to cut corners. He doesn't want to, do anything that's not what he's able to do. I think part of the decision might be out of his hands, though. Obviously, if he doesn't have the head coaching job, I don't think the, next coach is going to be like, okay, they can't play in the bowl game. But I think, if you're Pat Kraft, there's decisions to make there. I think that, there are a lot of things that may not be in Terry's hand, not even then, but even at this very moment. We don't really know what's going to end up happening with that, head coaching search. Obviously, there's been a lot of developments, which I mean, now that I think about it, we can also get into that a little bit later, but a lot of developments in the head coaching run that we don't even know who the head coach will be. Um, but yeah, so kind of going off of that, again, there'll have to be Rutgers to do so. I mean, Rutgers again has 5 wins. Rutgers started out the season pretty well. I wouldn't say they had the best schedule. Like I think me personally, with me watching Ohio University, obviously, they put up a pretty good game against them, and Ohio is very competitive. I expected to see Ohio win the MAC. They did not. They're probably not going to win the MAC as far as I know. But obviously, other than that, they hadn't really played anybody. So I mean, for Penn State, this looks like a game they're supposed to win. I think they're favored by about 14 and a half. Will 14 and a half, 13 and a half, where we at?
13 and a half, yeah.
13 and a half. There he is. Will, the man on the spot. Will betting horseman. Will Horseman betting horseman. There it is. So, I mean, I kind of want to just move forward to playing Rutgers. I mean, what are you guys looking forward to in the game? What are some things to watch from Penn State side?
I think the biggest thing is Rutgers has the worst run defense in the Big Ten. So I'm just honestly expecting another big day from Keyshawn Allen. Like I don't really see like I think it's gonna be very similar to Nebraska where it's a lot of like Keyshawn Allen, Nick Singleton, and like the passing game just kind of complements that. I mean, Grunkemeyer only threw 12 passes against Nebraska and Penn State won 37 to 10. So I think that it's gonna be something where Kaytron Allen's just going to feast. I mean, he already broke the rushing record. He's going for 4,000 yards at this point for his career. And so I just think like that's the key to the game for Penn State. Like just rely on what you've been good at the past 2 weeks, which is running the ball with Kaytron Allen. And you should be fine against a poor Rutgers team that's only conference wins are Maryland and what's that? Purdue, which are the other two worst teams in the Big Ten,
Wait.
besides
But week
Michigan
five,
State.
Maryland told me that they were really good. What happened?
Well, I think what
Maryland
happened
happened.
was, yeah,
Oh, the Terrapin slide. My bad.
Yes.
yeah.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going. Sorry.
But yeah, so I honestly think the key to the game is just run the ball. Rely on Penn State's identity, and like I think they'll be just fine. I think Penn State's defense has also really found something the past few weeks. It seems like Jim Knowles has made that scheme a little more simple for the guys to understand, especially with some young guys getting some more time, like Darius Dixon, Alex Tash, guys like that. And so I just think that like Penn State's kind of, I wouldn't say they're peaking right now, but they're playing really good football right now. And they're rallying around Terry Smith. So I just think relying on what they've done the past 2 weeks, doing the same thing that they've done the past 2 weeks, and like they should be fine in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I also think Penn State's kind of like not to say like peaking, but they're playing really good right now. And it's like I've never really felt more confident in a 5-6 football team to win a game on the road this weekend. It's just I just don't really feel like Rutgers, not to say they don't have a chance, but it's like I just don't really feel confident that Rutgers could win this weekend. But it's looking at like the defensive side. I mean, the defensive line's been like for Penn State, they've been generating a lot of pressure and a lot of sacks, a lot of just hits on the opposing quarterbacks in recent weeks, and that really should continue this weekend. I mean, Rutgers, they're giving up about 3 sacks per game this season, and Penn State, they could get Chaz Coleman back as well. He's a game time decision, so I think the pressure and like the pressure that the defensive line gets, that should continue this weekend, and and if with like the offense, Penn State's offense kind of like rolling lately. They should be lead by multiple scores like pretty early on. So Rutgers obviously going to be in more passing situations, which would only make the pressure worse for them. So I'm just pretty confident in the Nittany Lions' ability to win this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you guys won't say it, but I will. I think this team is peaking right now. I think when you take in the totality of everything, how the run game is playing, opening up the passing game, the defense. Even though I will say the defense was very good against Oregon in the beginning, and I would say in the first 3 quarters of the game. I think that this is the best that I've seen that team play. I think when you look at, getting a pass rush, Deni Denson hadn't had to be the guy, which you can kind of debate. I know sometimes people are like he disappears a little bit. Sometimes he does have those moments where it's like Deni Denson, where are you at? Obviously he almost had the sack last week, but um, obviously they ran away, got the touchdown. But I think that this defense overall is playing really good. I think Zane Durant's playing really good. I think you've seen improved linebacker play. I think they can only work with what they have, but you don't see the linebacker room as a liability right now. I think putting that third linebacker on the field, Keon Wiley being over there, I think Alex Sash just look decent when he's in there. Without huge expectations on what they're doing. Thinking about their depth and everything going on with the defense. I think they play well. I think if you look at the secondary, it means Kiwi Lee has always been consistent. He's always making plays. I thought he had the pick last week. He did not have it. It hit the ground. I think if you look in the cornerback room, I mean, I think you've seen strides everywhere. I think AJ Harris has been one that's had a down year, but I don't think his last week's performance was his worst. I think that the depth that they had with Darius Dixon and obviously Zion Tracy in the slot or nickel, whatever you want to call it, having guys like David Collins, things like that has helped, and I think that'll show. I think for me, I think if the Penn State defense can come again and have another dominant performance, that is a great sign for Jim Knowles to be retained for another year. Which obviously there are implications with that. One, maybe he ends up going to another program. Two, maybe the next coach doesn't want him back, but you also have the buyout situation. Obviously, he's still under contract right now, so there's a lot of different implications with that. But this is kind of like a not a prove it game, but this is like the final seal. It's like, okay, you finally got this defense together. We can trust in you. We can move forward with you. Like I think if you're Penn State, and obviously we don't know the head coach yet, but under a new head coach, that's something that he's definitely monitoring. I think offensively, it should be another game of Ethan Grunkemeyer. Like, is Ethan Grunkemeyer going to look like Ethan Grunkemeyer that's gotten better every single week, in my opinion? I think the first week wasn't as bad as the stats looked, but he still had things to clean up. I think he got better every single week, and then obviously you can talk about the record conversation. Nick Singleton obviously is touchdown away from tying both the rushing touchdown record all time and the career touchdowns record all time. Willie, you want to correct me? Did I have that right?
Yeah, he's already tied. He's gonna pass
I
if he
mean, there we
scores
go.
more than
Passed. There we go. Sorry, guys. It's Thanksgiving. Sorry. All the food in my system kind of, made me forget a couple things. But well, I saw your face. I said, "Oh, I messed something up." But Nick Singleton is a touchdown away from breaking both of those records. Obviously, previously held by Saquon Barkley, if it happens. So there's a lot to look for in the game. I think one positive you have with a guy that's like Terry Smith, he's burning the boats. I think that's the frame or the terminology. He's burning the boats. Like he's going all out. He's not, stopping at anything to really, win this game and to do what he wants because this might be the last time that he can do what he wants. We don't know if he's going to be the head coach. We don't know, what's going to go on with that. So this is kind of his chance to really show out. I think that kind of brings us to our next topic, which is the head coaching search. There's been extensions galore. If you're an agent, I mean, really Jimmy Sexton, but I'm sure there's other agents in the mix as well that get a little cut. You are absolutely rejoicing at this time. I know it's been reported. I don't know if it's official yet, but Clark Lee obviously reportedly got an extension. Elijah Drinkwitz obviously got an extension. You can go back a few weeks. I mean, you can look at Mike Elko. Like, there's a lot of guys that were once Penn State coaching candidates that are getting extensions. I mean, I kind of just want you guys to take on this. I mean, right now people have been trying to float Terry Smith, and I personally feel like at this point, I don't know who else is a better option at this point. I think you're going down the list. I feel like if you're going to go, down to let's say number 7 on the list, you might as well go with, I guess, the quote unquote safest option in the short term. So I just want to get you guys to take on that.
Oh, I think like the the weird like okay, so I think that Harry Smith is being fully backed by the players, fully backed by the fans, and like I've been saying this a lot, and like I'm a Raiders fan, so this reminds me a lot of like
Bias.
2021. Okay, of 2021, Rich Bisaccia, John Gruden obviously has his ordeal, leaves the Raiders. Rich Bisaccia takes over, leads the Raiders to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. And they ended up losing that playoff game, but still, like, Matt Crosby was literally out here saying, like, I want to be traded if you don't hire this guy, like, all this stuff. Like, he was fully backed by the fans, he was fully backed by the players. And Mark Davis went in a different direction. He hired Josh McDaniels from the Patriots. That ended up horribly. Like, the Raiders have had 3 coaches since then. And so it just kind of like, is one of those things where like it reminds me of like this Terry Smith situation where like he is kind of turned the season around. I mean, obviously he lost, 3 straight games. But whatever, those were top 5 defenses, really good opponents, but still like, he's turned the season around. He could get them to a bowl game. He could end up having them win that bowl game, and then it's still kind of like a somewhat successful season for Penn State. Obviously not what anyone thought it would be at all, but so it kind of just reminds me of that. And I think that if Pat Kraft doesn't hit on the hire, then you have people years down the line saying, like, well, you should have hired Terry Smith. Well, you should have hired Terry Smith. And so do I think that Penn State's going to hire Terry Smith? No, I don't. I think that, in my mind, the reason that if I'm Pat Kraft, would stray away from it is because you fire the guy in charge to hire his longest tenured assistant. And I think that, like, that is just where some people are going to be a little like, well, like at what point do we just say goodbye to this entire like long era? Like I think people are calling this like the end of the Paterno era because like at this point, like if you get rid of Terry Smith, like there's not really any ties left to, what Joe Paterno instilled into Penn State. And obviously he's still gonna be like the winningest head coach in college football history, like all that. But like Penn State just needs a fresh start. I think they need to move in a different direction. And so I think, but like you said, it really like at what point is Terry Smith the best option available? Like if like I keep looking like if Auburn doesn't beat Alabama this weekend, like Kalen DeBoer's off the table. If so, then at that point you're looking at like literally only Bob Chesney, and then it's like, well, do you want to take your chance on a guy from JMU, or do you want like a proven like guy? And at that point, there's no proven guys left, so it's like it's either like Bob Chesney, maybe some mystery name that people are talking about, but it's like such a weird situation to me because like I don't think Pat Kraft expected at all when he fired James Franklin to be in this position where his best option is a guy from JMU, maybe, Kalen DeBoer, which would be a home run hire, for Penn State, obviously. But so it's just there's just a lot up in the air. And so it's like it's really interesting because like I said, like I'm kind of expecting them to name a head coach like next week, the week after, and like I just have I could not tell you like who I think it's gonna be. And so I think it's just like really like there's just so much like going on and it's like there's no stable like lead on anything. So
Yeah, I mean, for Pat Kraft, it's like the his like legacy as Penn State's AD kind of hangs on this hire in a way. It's like because I mean, this is probably the most important decision he's made, obviously since firing Franklin, but it will be like the one that's probably remembered the most in a way. And it's really you're looking at like all the candidates. It's like yeah, Kalen DeBoer. I know Nick Saban kind of said like Brian Dable would be a good hire for Penn State, but. It's like I just feel like Terry Smith is the best option for Penn State at this point because just hire one of your own people. He's kind of like differentiated himself from like the Franklin era with like the Joe Paterno pin, because like that would have never happened when Franklin was head coach. And I just feel like all the players and like all the fans and are they're all like backing this one guy. As I just don't see, if you're Penn State, how you don't hire him, especially because like the next coach, there's just I just don't like any of the candidates that available for Penn State at this point, outside of Terry Smith, because it's I just think, because I also think like with like last year's college football playoff field, like a lot of the coaches of all the teams were first time head coaches when they were hired at their respective schools. So that would be Terry Smith. He's never been a head coach at in the college level, but he was at high school, and he was there at Gateway High School for like 12 years or so. And it's like he says, like, yeah, it wasn't college, but it's still leading men is leading men. And I do feel like kind of like the leadership skills, like I think that's in this like world of college football, I feel like that's the most important, because you're looking at stuff like roster retention or just like recruiting. Because I feel like a head coach, you really just need to be like the CEO in a way. You don't necessarily need to be like some offensive mastermind or something. It's like that can be like you can just hire like a really good offense coordinator. Obviously, that's easier said than done, but like I feel like a head coach, the best trait is leadership skills, and that's Terry Smith. Like it's like, and if he hasn't shown that, it's like I don't know what else he has to do during his time as like Penn State's interim coach. And I think he kind of referred to like these like games or these weeks as the interim, as like kind of like his interview. And it's like I think he's done a great job as the interim head coach. So it's like I feel like he should get the tag removed and be the full-time head coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you in terms of he has done a really good job with his job interview. I think obviously you aren't really expecting him to win the games that he isn't expected to win in the first place. Again, that being Iowa, that being Ohio State, and that being Indiana, and he's winning the other ones. It's kind of sounding like James Franklin, like now that I put that out in the air, but I think there's a big difference. Obviously, I mean, he took over the roster mid-season. I think there's a lot to go with that. But me personally, I think the biggest thing with Terry Smith is that this can be, I guess, a twofold thing. Like I think on one end, you look at him as a profile and you think, okay, this is a guy who obviously isn't as experienced as we would like if I'm, Pat Kraft. But he is a guy who has gotten better every single week. He's a guy that can command a locker room. He is a guy that, knows the recruiting realm, understands it. It's not like there is some sort of change for him. Like obviously he's doing a lot more in recruiting, but he's still doing a lot as, as a top guy in recruiting. Him and Franklin kind of right hand man in that sense. Obviously associate head coach as well. Like he has had these roles, he just hasn't had a head coach role. Obviously he hasn't had a coordinator role as well, which is kind of probably going to be a factor. But I think he's gotten better every week. I think if if I'm Pat Kraft, I think that this could be a good move for one reason, and that's because there's no one left. Like as we said, like Brent Key, like I don't see it. Bob Chesney, maybe, but I do think that there are other factors to come with that. Obviously, right as the time of recording this, the Egg Bowl is about to start. Everyone's going to be watching Lane Kiffin to see if this is going to be his last game at Ole Miss. If it is, that means Ole Miss has a head coaching job open. There's a lot of different jobs open. Florida job is still open. Like so, there's a lot of different options. I think Bob Chesney is the best young candidate. I think he's like 31 years old, which is ridiculous for a potential head coach. But I think that there is not really that many. Like you have to bank on Alabama losing to Auburn. And even then, it's still a decision to be made. That's just outside mumbling. Like there's no Alabama's firing him if he loses. That's not a guarantee. So I think there's a lot to unpack with it. But I do think the positive, if you get Terry Smith, is okay. Aren't going to have to pay him as much as most of the top head coaching candidates. One, two, you don't even have to give him a huge contract. You can give him 2 years, 3 years, maybe 2 years and options. I don't know if they have options in college football, obviously, but maybe 2 years and some sort of whatever. We can figure out that third year. And if it doesn't work out, then you go for the big fish at that point. I think more options will open up. I think that even if, Bob Chesney gets another year and he proves to be really worthy, then it makes more sense with one more year of experience than doing it right now. I think there could be a lot of changes, obviously, in college football, but I think that at that point that this might be the last option for Pat Kraft. I think it's kind of weird to think that Penn State was, I think, the second, at least in this since the fall started, the second team to hop into, the coaching search, and they haven't had a coach, and everyone is getting extensions off of Penn State. Like it's like who else is left? There's not really much to move, forward with. So it's like if you're Penn State, I mean, you kind of just gotta say, okay, this is the best as you can get. If it works out, cool. If not, fire him in a year or two, whatever. I think that he should obviously get those 2 years. I think 1 year wouldn't be fair given all the turnover that he'd have to deal with. But I think when you talk about roster retention, you talk about staff retention, and then you talk about a forward program or a forward plan, I think that Terry Smith at this point again would be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, I said like his like leadership's obviously the best, but it's like also you look at like some of like the decisions he's made as interim head coach, like he kind of like made sure the offense started passing the ball downfield. I mean, he made Katron Allen more of the feature back instead of like a more 50-50 split with Singleton. And even like before like James got fired, it's like Singleton was still getting like more carries than Katron, even though Katron was pretty clearly the best back in the room. And I just feel like he's able to like he's been identifying like what's going wrong and he's not been like sugarcoating, he's not like beating around the bush. He's like identifying the issues and doing exactly what needs to be done to like fix them. And I think that's a great trait because I feel like the issue with like James is like I feel like he got like a little stubborn at times and kind of did the same thing expecting it to work. I mean, I think I don't think he said it about like the goal line stand against Ohio State last year where it's like the three rushes up the middle. I am still convinced that like that was James's calling, not Colton Nicky's. I feel like that just feels like he just thought it would work, but obviously didn't. But otherwise, but Terry, he knows what's wrong. He fixed them, and he's done a great job at doing that. And I just don't really see how Terry shouldn't be the next head coach, knowing this is the current coaching pool for candidates.
I will say, like, I feel like I'm playing like the opposition here, but like the interesting thing with hiring Terry is like at what like all the like he's probably gonna retain most of the staff. I don't see him really firing guys except maybe Andy Kotelnicki. Like that's the only one that I can maybe see. The rest, like I just like I think he's gonna keep them unless they follow James. But like I think there's a much bigger pull to stay with Terry at Penn State where they've been for, a bit than follow James. So like then you have the same coaching staff that led to this downfall this year. And then you most likely have most of the same players. And like obviously a lot of the veterans are gonna be gone like Denai, Nick, Katron, a lot of the offensive line. Like, some players might still follow James, but it seems like the majority would want to stay with Terry. Maybe some just like leave for other programs, maybe like Chaz Coleman, guys like that. But I just think like after what happened this season, after James Franklin called this the best personnel he's ever had, like keeping it the exact same, like what is that? Like, how are you really benefiting from that? And like that's what I would look at if I'm Pat Kraft because it's like you want to win a national championship, like, and you thought that this was the roster and coaching staff that you could do that with. And then it wasn't. It was the complete opposite of that. And it's like, how do you like sit there and say like, yeah, like let's keep the entire band together and like try to do it again? Like it's just not like that is just not gonna work. And I think that like so that's where like I lean like yes, like Terry has done a really great job in this round. He's got the locker room tension. He's fixed kind of what James, refused to fix. But like this is like I feel like it's a little bit of like recency bias, but like I do see like I see the arguments obviously, and like I do think like if Penn State can't get a guy like I don't know what is my light doing
Yeah,
anyway.
that's insane. That's why you need a ring light.
If Penn State if like Alabama doesn't lose what is going on? If Alabama doesn't lose to Auburn, like I don't know, like I literally am like glowing. This is really throwing me off. Like I would take Bob Chesney over Terry Smith because Bob Chesney has worked his way up from every division of college football. He's gone from D3 to D2 to FCS to FBS, and then he would be taking a step to Power Four. And I think that is a like you can't like write up a better trajectory than that. Like I think that that would be a good hire for Penn State. So that's just kind of where I lean. Like I feel iffy about Terry Smith if I'm Pat Croft.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think at this point, in that sense of like Bob is probably the best hire. Again, I think there's a lot of factors with that, but I think at this point, Bob is the best hire. But again, I think there's a lot that you can get into that. I think one other thing that sticks out to me is the retention in the terms of young guys. If one thing wasn't clear within these last few weeks is that Penn State is still one of the most talented teams in the country. Like, I don't think you can debate that. I think when you look up and down the roster, I think there are plenty of some guys that we haven't even seen that we know are pretty good. Obviously, we've seen more of Kobe Howard. We haven't seen Tysier Denmark. I think there's probably a lot of different factors that go into that. We haven't even seen Chaz Coleman in these past few weeks, but obviously we've seen how great he's been. Ivan Kamaju is a guy who's been on the field and has been really good. Darius Dixon has been really good. I think if you look in the cornerback room, I think it'll be interesting to see if, especially if Terry remains, if they can keep Jameer Joseph. I think he's one guy that is going to be pretty promising for that unit. I mean, I think really up and down the roster, even though this was a, older team and Nadia Rusty, there's talent like on this roster. Some of them just need to grow a little bit. Like, I mean, Lyric Samuel is like really like he isn't ready to step out there yet. Like the guys like that, they just need another year in the weight program, whether it'll be run by Chuck Losey or someone else, maybe Jeff Earls, we never know. But they need another year, and I think it'll be interesting to see Malachi Goodman again. Like, and a lot of talked about some of these guys at psucollegian.com. It's psucollegian.com. You can type in upper class underclassmen Penn State must retain, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but you can see it right there. There are a lot of key guys that could play a factor in this. But I want to move into our final topic of the day, and that's Thanksgiving. We can kind of go rapid fire. I got two questions. I'm gonna start with the first one. I just need your starting five for your Thanksgiving plate, and I need to know if they're touching as well, because we gotta see the plate. Is it all together? Or are we touching? Are we separated like this? What's the formation?
My starting five is really boring and bland. Like, if you've been following the pod for a while, you know that I'm a picky eater, probably because people make jokes about it all the time.
Probably.
So my starting five is usually turkey, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, roll, and then like I don't really put anything else on my plate. So I'll just like round out the starting five like some sparkling cider. Like I don't know. It's like
Thought you were gonna say a fork.
no. Um, and then like I would say like they're not usually touching just because I don't have like a ton on my plate. So there's like no like there's enough space like they don't have to be. So like I don't know. There you go, Avery.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, obviously gravy, and probably mac and cheese too. And actually, no, bread. I put bread before mac and cheese. I feel like bread is a necessity. And then in terms of like, I would have it all touching except bread on a separate plate. I think that's the plate. That's the play there.
That is ridiculous. Mac and cheese is the best thing on the plate. Just yesterday, I helped someone with the project and they asked me that they were recording me. They asked me if mac and cheese is a main or a side. It's a main. It's literally a main. Like you come for the mac and cheese. Lexi unfortunately did not get her mac and cheese this year. We are so sorry. I thought I didn't get my mac and cheese. I almost left the house. But I'm gonna give you my starting five. We're gonna go with mac and cheese. We're going to go with yams, whatever you want to call them, candy, whatever you want to call them. I go yams. We can throw. I almost forgot my list. Collard greens in the mix. Got to get them the greens up and running. It'll save you from feeling like you ate too much, even though certainly ate too much. If you want to go further down the list, we can go into a turkey leg. I'm a big turkey leg guy. Like I don't have it a lot, but when I see it on NBC, like for the Thanksgiving games and all of that, like I think Fox does as well. But the Thanksgiving games, it really makes my day. I've had it a couple times. Like it's good. I just nobody in the family decides to come and bring a turkey leg, unfortunately. So I just have to get the sliced up turkey, and then with one more. Let's go. Oh, stuffing. There it is. Almost with mashed potatoes. I'm gonna go stuffing. I'm a big stuffing guy. I think that you can't go wrong with stuffing. I mean, it's just really good. I'm also a big this is very random, but I'm a big breakfast on Thanksgiving guy. I don't think that you get to skip a meal just because you want to eat a lot for Thanksgiving. I think that you need to learn how to put more food into your stomach. I think you need to train a little harder. Joey Chestnut taught me a lot. He taught me a lot of things about, how to, really conserve the space in my stomach and take advantage of that. And then for the second part, my food touches. If you guys saw my plate yesterday, you would have saw everything over top. Like literally everything over top. Like I don't care. Everything touches. I had some deviled eggs on my plate, which actually I'm a substitute the mashed or the stuffing for the deviled eggs. Ridiculous. They're chef's kiss. But yeah, I think food has the touch. I don't care. Cranberry sauce as well, something you can get up and moving. That's like my six man. Always comes in, makes a good play when I need him. Like kind of like a Lou Will type of build. Always a bucket, never misses. Really good. Lemon pepper wings, all of that, whatever. The Lou Will special. I think that cranberry sauce is incredible. Yeah, food touches. For our last question, we're just gonna go. Low key, I forgot the last question. What was the last question, guys?
After how
Oh,
like
there we
how
go.
long?
There we go. I got it. I got it. I got it. How long do your leftovers last?
Um,
Should they
well,
last?
like
Should they? Should they? My bad. Not my bad. Just how long can you hold on to leftovers? There it goes.
I think probably like I would say like a week. Like I don't know. I feel like after a week I would just get a little like I'm not gonna eat this. Um, so yeah, I would say like a week. I'm not really like the biggest like leftover person, just like in general. Like I don't really eat leftovers like that often unless it's like pizza. So like I don't really take part in like Thanksgiving leftovers, but like I know my dad will like eat them for like a week. So
I'd have to go with a week too, but I mean, for me, it's like I'm not really even gonna get leftovers because I'm leaving for Piscataway tomorrow, so don't have the chance to eat leftovers. But otherwise, I'd say a week.
Well, you do have a chance. There's things called ice. It's going to be cold outside. I'm just saying. I'm thinking of a plan to get my leftovers and make its way up to Shy Stadium. Is it Shy or SHI? I don't know. Either way, I'm gonna call it Shy Stadium. I think for me, leftovers last a good. I would say I can stretch it to 10 days. I don't think 10 days is egregious. I think that unless I see mold on the food or it tastes different, it's fine. I just saw something on Instagram. I lost it because it like refreshed as soon as I saw it. But it said if you store leftovers right, they could last you up to 6 months. That's right, guys. 6 months. So when I graduate, I could instead of having a graduation dinner, we could have Thanksgiving leftovers. What do y'all think about that?
I'm gonna have
whatever
to
you
pass on
flavor.
that one because I do not th food should not last that long. Like
You've never
no.
had something in the freezer for 6 months?
I mean, okay, well that's a bit different, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
it's
I'll freeze
like
it.
leftovers. The issue with leftovers, like you can taste that like leftovers are leftovers. Like I don't know how to describe
You got
it,
to
but
know how to
You
do it.
freaking here.
So
well,
Here.
here's what it
no, it's
said.
like it's very different. It's like eating the food the day of. That's like it tastes like fresh. It tastes like normal. It's like the issue with leftovers is like why am I not also not really a big leftover person? It's like you can like taste it's a leftover. Like
That's
you can
because
just
you put it
taste
in
it.
the microwave. You got to put it in the oven. If you have things like rice or even chicken, you can do it. You sprinkle just a little bit of water. TikTok taught me that. You can sprinkle just a little bit of water if it'll give you that little fresh feeling. But just don't put it in the microwave. And sometimes leftovers are better. There's some pieces that I have that are better as leftovers. I'm just saying, and that's like microwave leftovers. But like just put it in the oven, guys. Like there are ways to do it. That food was made the night before, so it ain't as fresh for the most part, depending on how you do your Thanksgiving. Me personally, we don't wait all day to eat, so most of the stuff has been already made. I know you're supposed to unfreeze turkey, unthaw turkey by like the Saturday before, so it's not like it's 100% fresh anyway. So there's no reason to not hang on to your leftovers as long as you can. Guys, we want to hear from you guys though. I mean, if you guys think that my leftovers take is egregious, Lexi's leftovers takes is egregious, or Lexi's plate takes are egregious, Will's leftover takes are egregious, any of that, you can leave it right down in the comments below. I know you know where the comments are. I don't have to explain that to you. But that's all we have for today. For more coverage, visit us at psucollegian.com, follow us on socials, and subscribe to our newsletter for content curated right to your inbox every Friday and Monday. Other than that, keep enjoying your leftovers and have a great one. We'll see you next time.